When I tell her that, she always says, "I love you like all fire." And I reply, "I love you like all fire too." I know one thing, though. The Capitol can never take Lenore Dove from me again. They never really did in the first place. Nothing you can take from me was ever worth keeping, and she is the most precious thing I've ever known. When I tell her that, she always says, "I love you like all fire." And I reply, "I love you like all fire too."
Wait, I can't drive.
She always says, "I love you like all fire." And when I tell her that, she always says, "I love you like all fire." And I reply, when I tell her that, she always says, "I love you like all fire." And I reply, when I tell her that, she always says, "I love you like all fire." And I reply, when I tell her that, she always says, "I love you like all fire." And I reply, "I love you like all fire too."
This isn't water. This is my tears. Hello, and welcome back to another Marley Reviews books. I picked the Hagian chair for today's video. I thought it was, on theme with, Hunger Games. The hanging tree, the hanging chair. So, let's stop swinging and start talking. I can't keep ignoring it. My friend told me to have tissues prepared, and I do in fact think that I should have had tissues prepared. The Sunrise on the Reaping is the fifth book in the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. It came out March 18th, so I'm kind of late with this review. It already has 333 reviews on Amazon, and I think a lot of them served it justice. A lot of people, a lot of 5 stars. Let me give you my reason why it was not 5 stars for me. Non-spoiler section first. I got you guys. So Sunrise on the Reaping is Haymitch's story, and it's a prequel. Obviously it happens 25 years before the first Hunger Games book, so before Katniss gets reaped or volunteers to go into her games, and before all of that transpires. And it happens, I want to say, 50 years after Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, since it's the 50th Hunger Games. I think it is the 50th because it's the second quarter quell. So it kind of explains, he didn't even get into the games until page 200. So it explains a lot of his backstory and why he is the way that he is. So I don't know why I wasn't expecting it to be really tragically heartbreaking, because it is about what made him be who he was. A drinker, a druggie. Actually, I don't know if he did drugs. A drinker, not, the brightest man alive, maybe not the most outgoing, kind of just stayed in his house in the Victory, neighborhood? What's it called? I don't know. The Victor's place. and just stayed in there. So it was definitely going to be sadder than the other books. Also, it didn't really have Peeta and Katniss's romance, okay? Like, it didn't have some lighter notes to it. It was just awfulness. And we saw a little bit of Haymitch's story in the Catching Fire, because that was a quarter quell. So then, because it was the 75th. So then, we can see, like, one of the lines from the video that they had in Catching Fire is a line that's directly in this book. I think that's all I can say without spoiling it much. Oh, it got, from me, I think it got a 4.5. I think I got a 4.5 stars. Because, yeah, it was a really good book. I just personally find it hard to read books when it's just the sadness. I'm a very peppy person. I struggle to get through the first 3 books and then DNF'd, soft DNF'd, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So, reading this one was especially hard, I want to say. I kind of just put my nose to the grindstone and read it all in one day. And so, a lot of my thoughts, like, this is the next morning after, a lot of my thoughts are still floating around, and I haven't put real concrete words to them. But I didn't do a February wrap-up, and this whole video is about my review of just this book. So, I kind of needed to get out. I couldn't let it sit until the end of March. So, I want to say so many things, but I'm having trouble finding words. I don't want spoilers. So this got a 4.5 because of the sadness takes away from it, because of... Oh, I will say, I don't know if this is much of a spoiler. Obviously, since there's a prequel, we're going to recognize some characters. Some characters need to be set in motion earlier on. But in this book, there were so many characters that were from the books that we've seen. And so I feel like it made a lot of the characters way older than I thought they would be. And it kind of changed their backstory a little bit to be like they were in the games, they were in Haymitch's life way, way, way before Katniss and Peeta's games. Really? Now I feel like I need to reread the first 3 books and watch Haymitch's confrontations and conversations with all of the other characters. You know? Oh, you maybe remembered him from 25 years ago when you were 16 and you were weeped. So now, that was the non-spoiler section. Now I'm going to start spoiling things. Wow. We started out with Lenore Dove, and I immediately thought she was kind of like a Lucy Gray character, because I did in fact watch the movie, even though I didn't finish Ballad. So I immediately thought she would might be related to Lucy Gray. And I don't, a lot of people saying that's confirmed. Maybe I was sleep deprived, and they're reading really deeply into the meaning of a lot of these words. Like the fact that Lenore Dove did know about Lucy Gray. But also, I feel like if I was a Covey, I would know about the Coveys of before, especially if she won the games. So I feel like I would know about her if I was Covey. And if I was forced to keep this a secret, then, you know. Also, if she is directly her daughter, or like her offspring, I probably really did miss it, because I never found out why she wore orange paint on her nails. Was it because she was Covey? And that was for Lucy Gray? One second, let me look that up. Why did Lenore Dove wear orange nail polish? It does say Lenore Dove Bard, which is, I would say, oh, it says it's because she painted posters around the town with orange nail polish. Can someone make a video explaining this to me? Or like comment down in the comments section if you read this book. What's happening? Clearly I was sleep deprived and probably need to read this again, but do I want to put myself back through that? No. No, I don't. I was traumatized. Anyway. So, yeah, I definitely got Lucy vibes. Then, his weeping, the fact that it's his birthday, no wonder he has to take 2 kids to, like, get them killed on his birthday every year. Can you imagine being born on the weeping? That's awful. And I can't imagine what that would be like for his mom. And Wyatt, okay, I'll move on to characters in a second. I'm talking about my initial thoughts. Then his weeping, just being out of the blue, and he was just standing up for her. I definitely am on the side of the fact that he shouldn't have stood up for her, just because it made it worse, and he wouldn't have gotten weeped that way. And I'm all for protecting your girl. I love that, actually. I love it when guys are like, don't mess with her. Like, oh my gosh. But in this situation, when it takes away the guy, when she ends up getting murdered because of it, yeah. I think we all make mistakes, and he made a really big one and has to live with that. And he can't, so he turns to drinking. Then he goes into his games. I was such a fan of Maisie. I literally think she was my favorite character in this entire book, because just her character development, how he got to know her, how she was a little snooty, but then she, you know, stuck it out and tried to find Lulu. And I liked Luella a lot. I was really sad when she died, because obviously I don't think any of us expected her to die before the games. I don't know if that was ever mentioned, because they wouldn't have noticed. Because she just got replaced by Lulu. Then his conversation with Snow about Lenore Dove, that was crazy. I felt like that was so interesting of Susanna to put in there, because it was one of those callbacks that was crucially important, because he hated Haymitch because he was Covey, and he hated Katniss because she reminded him of the Covey. So I never thought, obviously, Lenore Dove would make it, but that was really interesting. When he called that out, I was like, oh no, like something's gonna happen here. I had false hope that Lenore would just be turned into Effie, but then Effie showed up and was a senior in college, had graduated, ? Like, I didn't know the age gap between Effie and Haymitch was that much. And I know that there was some lines thrown into Mockingjay and Catching Fire that kind of made it seem like Effie and Haymitch had a thing. And I know the actors were really advocating for it, and they added in like a kiss. So that kind of hurt, because especially they aged out. They had 2 conversations, and then just ended up, And especially after the epilogue, when he says that Lenore was his one and only, and they dated for life, and then he just moves on and dates Effie. That was awkward. Overall, I think bringing Effie in that part was just a bad idea. I did not like it. I kind of wish that it had just been a different older sister. And maybe Effie was the younger sister who was a little closer to his age and didn't... I know Woody Allen, that whoever plays Effie, weren't thinking that she would make this book about, you know, the fact that he had a lover. And they mentioned it in Catching Fire. So I don't know. The movies also do some stuff that's separate to the books that make it feel like it's its own little universe, and then the books have their own little universe. So I kind of like that, but I really was a Haymitch and Effie supporter before in the movies. But now I almost feel like I can't support that anymore because Lenore was his one and only. So that was upsetting. I feel like I'm saying so a lot. I'm sorry. Then he goes into the games. Obviously, they replaced the Lulu. I felt super bad for whoever was Lulu. And we never found out, and that just crushed me. Because especially if she was from 11, and they noticed that. Mags and Wyrus being their mentors was so interesting. That was the one part that I liked. And Beetee, I don't know if I liked Beetee having a son. That just seemed like really throwing in too many characters. But I liked Wyrus and Mags because Mags, we got to see, she was the like comforting character, and that was what she was for Finnick. And so we kind of get to see that coming out a little bit, and how she sacrifices herself to save Annie in the end. And then Wyrus, she kind of is a little crazy. But I like that they showed her progression in working with stuff, and Beetee's progression in working with stuff. When they revealed that Beetee had a son and that he was married, I just found it confusing because I never saw a ring on his finger, but I could also... I mean, they didn't know it in the movie, so they didn't know to put a ring on his finger. Because Suzanne didn't tell anyone, because she's kind of retconning a lot by doing this. So that made me upset. But I liked Wyrus and Mags because we got to see their characters a little bit more. We didn't really see them from Finnick and Katniss's and Peeta's perspective, because we only knew what Katniss knew. We only knew that Finnick liked Mags. For some reason, she couldn't even talk. So I liked that part. And how they took care of Lulu, and how they could tell that she took the bride and that meant that she was from District 11. And how the Flowers murdered her home, and then murdered her. That part, that was like, oh my gosh. And Wyatt dying, and how I was like, I thought Wyatt had Lulu repeat Find Haymitch, but then she reveals that the game makers are making him do it. Which made me think that the game makers might have been on him, or they didn't want him to be alone. So they were like, Lulu, go find Haymitch, because he was being a prick and just wanted to be by himself. And it ended up messing up his plans, but then, you know, Lulu passes, and we don't know where her body ends up, which was so sad. I felt so bad for Lulu. That was just awful. And then Maisie finds him. I thought that was really interesting. I loved their little scene where he's like, what you said to Oliver, and she's like, I'll be your sister, and how he's like, I used to have twin sisters, and then they passed again. So sad. And so I liked that part. I really just think Maisie was my favorite character and all. And then I'd say from there, I kind of got a little choppy in what happens. Didn't like the ladybugs. I wasn't a fan of the ladybugs scene. But, you know, I don't like bugs. I actually saw a ladybug get stepped on the other day, and it kind of traumatized me, so then I read about ladybugs, and I was not a fan. I like that they found the barrier. That was so good. I just liked how he used the barrier to beat her in the end, and then blew it up. I like that he blew it up, and didn't survive, and then he ended up in that house. And that was interesting to see the like replay, because we didn't get to see that with Katniss and Peeta. They didn't show the replay at least. It's like when you have to sit there and be one, but then they show everything that happened. That would be awful. I'd also say, well, I'm gonna take a sip. I'd also say that little Lucy on the TV moment, that was wild. And then he gets home, and his mom and brother die. I don't know why I wasn't expecting them to pass. I thought they would be already gone, and then the fire happened, and that was awful. And then he finds Lenore, and I thought that they were the same gumdrops, and then she couldn't make herself throw up because she hadn't eaten anything because she'd been in jail. And then she died. I knew she had to go, obviously. Haymitch doesn't have a lover in any of the other Hunger Games books. But I don't know why I wasn't expecting it to happen. Like that. Oh my gosh. And then his, like, divulge into just, and then I love you like all fire. I want to get that tattooed somewhere, like I love you like all fire. It's so sad. I was weeping. And then the epilogue. When Katniss brings him the geese. I thought it was so sweet that he told them the story and trusted them enough with it, and they were so loving and supportive and brought him geese, and how he went to Lenore's grave. And then the part of the end of the acknowledgements where she says the snow may fall but the sun also rises, because this snow, Cornelius, he falls but the sun still rises. I was like, why is it called sunrise on the weeping, until she was like, don't let the sun rise on the weeping. And Plutarch, I hated that Plutarch was in this. Absolutely, just did not know. That makes him way older. That makes his connection with Haymitch in any of the movie, any of Mockingbird, there was none. He didn't act like he knew him at all. I just didn't like Beady in there, Effie in there, and Haymitch in there. I mean, not Haymitch. What did I just say? Beady, Effie, Plutarch. My least favorite part was this review I read on Amazon, because there is one line in here. One line. It's about her uncle. Oh, okay, so Tam Amber and Clark Carmine. So they also have to be names. I don't know where it was, actually. Ugh. I just bent it a little bit. Okay. Okay. So they're talking about Clark Carmine, and she says, given his own challenges, you'd think Clark Carmine would be a champion of our love. I'm certainly supportive of his, but I guess he thinks Lenore Dove could be different. Oh, wait, sorry. Okay. Clark Carmine doesn't comment on her state, just shoots me a look that says he holds me responsible, then turns on his heel. He never paid me much attention until Lenore Dove and I got serious. Since then, nothing I do seems right. I once told Lenore Dove I thought he just hated love. That's when she revealed that he'd been together some 30 years with a fellow in town who replaces busted windows. They have to keep it quiet because loving indifferently can get you harassed by the peacekeepers, fired from jobs, arrested even. Given his own challenges, you'd think Clark Carmine would be a champion of our love. I'm certainly supportive of his, but I guess he thinks Lenore Dove could do better. I saw a review on Amazon that said, attention parents, this is where it is in case you want to do something. And I thought, skip this part if you're my parents or go to my school. But I thought, in a story that's about kids being murdered, capital punishment, war crimes, poisoning, child mutilations, children being torn to pieces by each other, that a line about one person liking another person would be what we need to warn children about. If your child can't handle 2 lines, a paragraph about how he was with some fellow, doesn't even use pronouns, just fellow, then maybe your kid shouldn't be reading books about children being murdered and burnt alive and poisoned and chewed to pieces by cannibal chipmunks and stabbed in the throat by a bird, and there's crying blood because she's poisoned by the flowers, and then he rips out the drug line in his chest. Maybe your kid should not then read the book. But nothing that's warning about that. I didn't see one review that said, warning, this book is darker than the others, if it could have been humanly possible. Warn about that. Not Clark has been in a relationship with the fellow who fixes windows. That was the thing that really annoyed me. My least favorite part in the book, I have to say Lulu's death. I really felt bad about Lulu. And just, I don't know, man. I don't want to say that I have a least favorite part just because it made me cry. I think my favorite part was any scene with him and Lenore where they were actually happy. My favorite character was Maisie. Maybe my favorite part was Maisie and him being brother and sister. And how she got to go with her head held high. So that's my review of Sunrise on the Reaping. I still haven't mentally recovered. Big shout out to Mina on Spotify for creating this killer playlist. I listened to this whole thing and then my own songs started playing. But I listened to the whole thing, and it was such good songs. And a song would play, and it would kind of coincide with what was happening in the book, and I would just start crying because of the song. So good job, Mina. I can't believe it only has 152 saves and needs more saves. I don't save playlists, but if I did, I would save that playlist because that was amazing. So read Sunrise on the Reaping and listen to the Sunrise on the Reaping playlist by Mina on Spotify, and then tell me what you think and scream your own not curse words off of hills.